Is February 16th, 2021. Let's all rise for the
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Secretary, please roll call.
Okay. Commissioner Rivers.
Here.
Commissioner Way.
Here.
Commissioner Brown.
Here.
Commissioner Flowers.
Here.
Commissioner West.
Present.
Okay.
Very good. Next item of business is adoption and approval of the agenda. Any changes to that? Yes, sir.
I'd like to add this letter that I just passed around to everybody for discussion. We can add it on to under new business.
Tom, would it be okay if we just did that in comments by commissioners so that we can post this on the website and give the public an opportunity to take a look at it as well?
Can I say it again, please?
Would it be all right if we just discuss this during commissioner comments?
It can be done under commissioner comments.
Okay, great.
Commissioner Brown, if we could move under old business agenda items C to A, flip those two, it just would make a bit more sense.
Sure, I'm happy with that. Any objection to flipping those? No? All right, any other changes?
Sandy, you didn't want to change?
Oh, Sandy, you want to strike B?
Did we, is this when we do that?
Yes.
Okay, just for the public's knowledge, because I don't know if anybody's here, but for the Main Street Bridge kayak launch we've been talking about, a lot of other people wanted to have some comment and input, so if we could put that on next month's schedule would be
That's
better.
B. That's letter B under
Right.
old business.
So do I have a motion to approve the agenda with the stated modifications, swapping C and A under old business and getting rid of B?
So moved.
And a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Great. Next is public comment. Members of the public, of course, we need to bump that to 5 minutes, just in case anybody wants to. Nothing? No public comment? Great. All right. Government representative comments.
Sergeant Josh Underwood, the Sheriff's Office Marine Unit. For the Port District, from last court meeting to today, 43 calls for service, 1 citation written for safety equipment, and 2 citations written for navigation rule violations. Other than that, if you guys don't have any other questions, we have a short little presentation that Deputy Brad is going to do for us for the derelict vessel program database that we created with GIS. So he's going to go over that. I put on in front of your tables there the web address and the username and password. That password is going to change quarterly, and we'll just email that out to you guys that way you have it quarterly. Aaron, you want to
All right, so as most of you are aware, Aaron Braddock, St. Johns County Sheriff's Office Marine Unit. The derelicts and vessels that we have on the waterway that one, we're working as derelict, or we're working them as at risk, or we're working them to have them removed. Right now, it's hard to kind of distinguish who has been working them, so we've coordinated efforts, and so it'll be between St. Johns County Sheriff's Office, FWC, and the City PD. So this is the viewer module, which you're seeing here on the screen. There's a separate one for editorial, but you'll have the passwords to this, as Sarge said. Now, when you're here, you'll be able to zoom in and see which ones you want. So it'll have some limited data. So if you have a question as to which vessel is in a location, or if you just want to see which ones are ready for removal, you can look at that and click on the ones that are ready for removal. It'll have some limited data there and show you where they're at, give you a number, so you have an idea of what's going on in the county. Like I said, it's limited data. There's a lot of personal information that goes in on the editorial side or the enforcement side. but this will better give everyone an idea of the current status of the waterway and what we have outstanding and what we're working. And it will update live as we do it. So if we add one over the weekend and you pull the viewer up, it'll be there a minute after we put it on the site. So if we change the status from at-risk to derelict or ready for removal, it's live. So when this, we'll get those password out. The ones that are in here right now are all test subjects. We haven't fully gone live with the program yet. So
When do y'all expect to go live?
within the week. We should have this fine-tuned and out to everyone. I have to meet with the city PD and the FWC still, and brief them on it and get them up to speed on how to input and edit and how we're going to manage that side of it and get everybody on board. And then once we do that, we'll have to go through the waterways and do a full inventory of everything we have and start working on inputting them into the program. Because the program isn't going to be as good as we put into it. So once we get that going and we have everything, the current status of what's on the water, it'll sound out.
Did you say the name of the site to go there, or that's not decided yet?
It's already there. It's under this is the site, and we'll give you the site when we email you the password. It'll have
It's on this piece of paper.
That piece of paper I put up there on the desk?
All the way on the right there.
Yeah, he gave you a piece of paper.
Yeah.
So it'll give you the password, the username, password, the site, all of that. And you have any questions?
Does this site include sunken vessels as well?
That'll be the derelict, yeah. If
So
we're working
that's
as
totally
a
down.
sunken vessel is being worked as a derelict, it'll show, it'll be one of the items on there.
And when you say at risk, that would be boats that say are hanging on by a thread or,
Yeah, statutorily, they don't meet the derelict statute, but we work them as at risk. So let's say the vessel is moored in the waterway, it doesn't have means of propulsion,
Right.
it would be considered at risk. Or if there's a hole in the letting water in, it can't be water, but it hasn't met the statute of being, jumped, wrecked,
so that's at risk, all of those.
that's at risk. If it's aground, that would be considered at risk.
And so the at-risk vessels, you guys work with those owners trying to find them, and that, I know that you do.
We work with them, try to get them
Yeah.
out of that situation.
Okay.
There are fines that we can issue to them, but mainly it's to try to get it before it becomes derelict.
Yeah.
But those will identify the ones that we have shown they are at risk of becoming derelict. So, any other questions?
It's terrific, thank you, gentlemen.
Thank you.
The big purpose of the program was to make sure you guys as commissioners had situational awareness on these derelicts that are being funded, on which is getting pulled out, where they're at. Ones that don't get funded but are still in the county, that way you guys can see what's there and what's not. All right.
We appreciate it. It's a little part of our budget, so it's nice to know how our funds are being spent.
Good afternoon, Commissioners. Jim Piggott with the City of St. Augustine. Two pieces of information for you. First of all, most of you guys know Sam Dukowitz, our harbor master. Just want to let you know he's going to be retiring effective April 1st. Not a joke. We just conducted interviews, and we're going to be selecting somebody from within the marina to take his place. Eric Molden, who's currently our maintenance tech, if you will. He's been there for 10 years. And we think he's gonna do a really super job. The second thing is, at the last meeting, this board was talking about possible methods to reinstall damaged or missing pylons at Salt Run. Had a meeting with Chairman Brown on that shortly after that meeting. And we just want to give you some options possibly to think about. You know, if you decide throw them away, that's fine with us. So I brought Tim Fleming. He's my deputy director in general services. He's also in charge of our purchasing division within the city. And I talked to your court attorney a little bit this morning. But there's a couple options that we could do. We could put out an RFP. We could let you guys do the bidding yourself, although you have a staff, try to make it easier on you guys, something we do all the time. And possibly there's some things that you can do, like if Chairman Brown wants to replace some pylons, you would have to do that, you'd have to get your own quotes, and then you have to maintain all the paperwork and so on and so forth. So whatever you all want to do is fine, we're just giving you some options. We don't want to step on any attorney's toes or anything, so with further ado, I'll call up Tim Fleming to give you a one-over-the-world. Feel free to ask him any questions you may have with purchasing, between RFPs, RFPs, RFQs, so on and so forth.
Good afternoon, Mr. Chairman, Commissioners. As Jim so eloquently said, I'm running the rabbit on purchasing for the city, so we're trying to continue the long relationship we've had with the Port District, cooperating the dredging projects, the earlier derelict vessel programs. So I'll probably ask some questions. I don't know exactly what we're looking at as far as the scope of work. Do we have some markers that already have to be replaced or repaired, or is this going to be on a continuing services basis? Something happens, a boater unfortunately runs into one of our markers and has to be replaced. So doing some research that I've got, it's my understanding that the district doesn't have a formal procurement policy or procedure. So as a special district, you all have come underneath Florida Statute 287, 287-057. And it's, as a special district, you don't have home rule, so you're limited on one point, but on the other hand, you do have a lot of flexibility in some of this stuff. The statute calls out for formal competitive solicitations when the amount of the construction comes over the category 2 threshold, which is $35,000. So I don't know if we're looking at on a per instant basis or continuing services. We have any kind of an estimate about what we're looking at right now. What we can do, if it wants to be a cooperative effort with the city could issue the solicitation, gather quotes. I don't know if you all have a local preference policy for local contractors within the district, within the county. We could do a request for proposals where we come up with a number of criteria that have to be met by anyone wishing to put in a submittal for the work. Price is not the overall determining factor in that case. It's one of several. Best cost, years of experience with the work, the staff that's available by the contracting firm to throw at the project.
In this instance, I think one of the main things would be timing.
Timing? Okay.
How quickly the work could be completed.
All right. Well, the quickest way to do it would be to solicit a bid, put out a competitive bid.
Oh, I mean that would be one of the criteria in the bid, right?
Okay, yeah.
Because the issue that we've been facing is that these pylons are coming down on a continual basis. We lose, 2, 3, 4 a year at least. Often the same one, again and again, because there are a few that are more vulnerable to being hit than others because their placement's all run.
Right.
But replacing them piecemeal the way we've been doing it is not working. It's too expensive and it often takes too long too. We'd like to get something more regularized in place.
Well, may I suggest, and like I said, this is purely suggestion, we could issue a request for proposals on a continuing services contract. Select a contractor based on all the different criteria, how fast they could respond to a project, how many people it could throw at it, length of time it would take to do the replacement repair work, and of course cost. And then once we've selected a contractor and they've given us some pricing, then we can go ahead and set up a continuing service contract, lock them into a contract, and then as work comes up, just simply issue, get a proposal from them and issue a work order, so they can start the work immediately.
Well, a lot of that sort of goes back to where is their equipment, and rarely is it right here. It's on the coast, or it's up in Palm Valley, and which is one of the reasons I introduced them. We should have some of our own equipment. The port should have, we have our own equipment. We have emergencies are taken care of. These things like this are taken care of. All kinds of dredging can be taken care of, but without our own equipment, we're never going to have guarantees, even with a contract.
Yeah.
Nobody's going to leave a contract to come do one pylon. which was my thing, that we just make the pylons where you can't knock them down. Next time it comes down, simply drive in a concrete or steel, or one that has multiple. And these are all technician questions, really not engineering. We've already done some talking around where we know industry standard for a standard pylon is really about $750 plus the price of the poles for what we have now. It would be more to replace one that wouldn't come down. But, you know, we have plenty of contractors right here in town, in our district, literally.
Well,
As far as being able to prefer them, I don't know, there's some laws against that, but
Well, what the statute points at is although you have the purchasing threshold of $35,000 before you have to go to formal solicitation, one thing you always have to bear in mind, this is something that we do with the city, with our procurement policy, even on those occasions when you have the discretion to just issue a contract, you issue a purchase order, depending on the dollar value, you have to be able to show that you did at least a reasonable search to get you a good price and a good contract.
well, we were paying $9,500, so the $750 was a big drop. Like I said, just finding out what industry standard was very helpful. So I'm not sure what the city's actually asking us to do.
So my understanding is what the city is proposing is to run replacement of salt run pilings similar to the way that we do derelict vessels, right? Rather than the port getting a call, or rather than someone showing up at a port meeting and saying, these derelict vessels are in trouble, they need to be dealt with going forward on an individual basis, and you need to figure out how to do it. Instead, the city takes care of it and then just essentially asks us for compensation after the fact.
Yes,
There's
we
an
do.
ongoing understanding between.
We did early on in the derelict vessel program, the city essentially took responsibility for contracting the work, doing solicitation, everything else. And then we executed an interlocal agreement with the district to be reimbursed for the work.
Right.
You know.
And that this would run in essentially the same way. Is that right, Jim?
Right. And then, of course, any solicitation that we issue, we do a request for proposals, we would expect to have a member of the board, the chief executive officer, sitting in on the evaluation team.
Right.
So that, because you have that vested interest in it.
And also, when the proposal goes out, we would get your input, what criteria you want. And then we'd have to weight each criteria, what's most important to you. You know, obviously, if time's the most important to you, which sounds like it is, there's nothing you can do with Mother Nature. You know, if storms hit, something like that, they can't get out, whatever the case may be. But we would do our darndest to make sure that it's a local person that's got the personnel and equipment necessary to replace the pylons as needed.
But that would just apply in the city, is that correct?
Yes, this would just apply for the pylons that are within the city limits. Unless you think we can do it like we do Salt Run.
Well,
I mean, derelict boats, I should say.
yeah, I mean, we can do it within the district, with the port district. I mean, the city has jurisdiction over our submerged water, our body of water. But with the derelict vessel program, we essentially take care of everything within the district's purview. So we would have to touch base with the Corps of Engineers as far as those markers, those pylons that are at the inlet, for instance, that are outside.
That's
Salt Run.
outside the city.
Yeah.
Outside the county.
So, but, you know, all you have to do, all we can do is ask, you know, but this is a personal opinion. I don't think we would encounter any resistance from the Corps of Engineers if we were taking care of all the pylons, all the markers, to include those in the group.
Well, what are you talking about, are you talking about going out and doing just a blatant replacing all of them?
No,
Or just as they come, as they break?
And just to clarify, I don't think we'd want to do the inlet with those pylons, that's Coast Guard responsibility.
Right.
But the ones up and down the intercoastal possibly, that's within the port district, channel markers. Also in Salt Run, that's within the city. So anytime there's a boat that hits one of those markers, down below the 312 bridge maybe, that's outside the city but inside the port district, we could probably use our request for proposal results of contract of the 1, 2, or 3 contractors that we select based on the criteria. We rank them in order. Call the first one, hey, we got a marker down by 312 bridge, here's the coordinates. We need that replaced, repaired, whatever, as soon as possible. What's your timeline? 2 weeks? Okay, well, the next one, what's your timeline in 1 week? We pick the fastest one and get it done.
Josh, if you have something you want to add?
Commissioner, just on that, remember, you only can replace the private aids the port district is responsible for.
Right.
The rest of the aids in the county or in the
Yeah,
port
that's what I
district
see.
are Coast Guard maintained.
In the intercoastal waterway?
Correct.
So we couldn't replace those anyway?
So
So
there's no-
for some reason, there's no, I don't see why we need to put another government agency in between the port who's responsible for the salt run markers. We own them or operate them.
The
or
only
replace them.
private aids in the Port District would be Salt Run that you're responsible for.
Okay.
Everything else is under the purview of the Coast Guard.
So
It has
why-
to be replaced by the Coast Guard.
Okay, so all we have responsibility for is salt run. So why would we put another government agency in the middle of that instead of just learning how to properly bid and take care of our own business? It's without a doubt going to add cost. There's just no way it won't add cost.
I disagree. I think there's a good chance that it will lower costs by being able to take advantage of economies of scale. They know what they're doing and we don't. Not only that, but we only meet once a month. They're at work 5 days a week. So
No, they
can
can't,
take-
no, they don't have, that's what you're saying. They don't do the inlet markers and they don't do the intercoastal markers.
We don't have the administrative resources to do this.
I'm not saying we do, I'm saying maybe we should.
Yeah,
That's all, that's just my opinion.
We would bid this out, let's say an RFP, we'd get 10 quotes back. You know, say Chairman Brown would be on the committee, I'd also recommend Sam Dukowitz and somebody else in our staff. Can't have two commissioners, sunshine violations in that case. Okay, let's grade each of these out individually, independently, come back and then apply the points, see which one top three are, take the top three. So we would have a continuing service contract for the next year with another year renewal option and another year renewal option after that, whatever we want, whatever you want. We're just trying to make it simpler for you guys, because Commissioner Brown brings up a good idea. We'd have, if someone hit a marker tomorrow, you have to wait another month before you vote to have it replaced, where a quick phone call to say, hey, once it's in place, hey, let's get that repaired. Boom, it's repaired. We probably have to have some type of interlocal to verify that we get reimbursed from the port for that work. Not our work, but the contractor's work.
Yeah, Commissioner Flowers, speaking to your point, I think you're talking about interposing another layer of government.
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Well, I call it waste, but yes, sir.
Right. Well, there wouldn't be any increase in cost. It would be the same as the district going out and putting out a solicitation to the city. Same thing that we had with our derelict vessel program. The city doesn't, there is no markup, it's a strict cost.
Who looks out, who's the executive director? See, that's the problem. Our port has no executive director.
Well,
So
it's
it's
the
decided-
chairman.
The chairman cannot act as an executive director. For example, Mr. Pickett, you are cloaked in delegated authority. The Attorney General says you cannot speak with these commissioners off the record
Yes, you can.
because of that delegated authority. And yet you're continuing to do it after 2 years of complaints.
Sandy, where does the phrase cloaked and delegated
That
authority
came from
come
the Attorney General opinion, and I had.
I did a Google search for it a
I'll
couple
get it
days
for you.
ago.
If you need that, sir, I'll
Yeah,
surely get
yeah,
it.
please
Because
do.
it was, the Attorney General was referring to a case where it was adjudicated, and in that is where she used, you are cloaked with delegated authority. And the delegated authority term is right in the Sunshine Manual. And it describes how when an advisor comes who has the ability to make decisions, cloaked and delegated, and Jim does that right in front of us. I can name 3 or 4 decisions. He's
Go
making-
ahead and name them. What do you?
Oh, let's say one of them, when law enforcement came and wanted to use the mooring law and salt funds for the junk boats, Jim decided for the city right there. You're not gonna use the bog, so we didn't get to do that. Well, when, let's see, when it came up about the kayak launch in Lincolnville, Jim decided right in front of us that he was not gonna be, I can tell you the words, if you're gonna box me in, we don't want your money. That kayak money, this launch money is sitting over at the fine, rotting away, and may have already expired. So Jim's making these decisions on his own without going back to the city. It means he's cloaked in delegated authority.
Cloaked and delegated authority from the city, not from us.
Exactly, the city has given him delegated authority. He is the decider. All people like us with authority to decide how the tax dollars are going to be spent, according to the Sunshine Law, need to do it in the sunshine. Not behind and then come formalize it in a meeting. This is all in the AG opinions that I've pointed to several times. If you can't find them, I'll get them, okay? Mr. Meek, we had a conversation. Did you have any comments about that delegated authority?
I have indicated and was about to propose, if the commission is interested, what I would suggest on the delegated authority issue is if Commissioner Flowers will forward me whatever opinions she has been relying upon, I will be happy to look at them on behalf of the Port District and give my 2 cents on what they stand for or don't stand for, so the commission would not be in the position of referring to there is an opinion, there isn't an opinion, it does apply or doesn't apply. to potentially get some conclusion to this question that seems to keep popping up periodically. But I also wanted to offer 2 cents on the issue at hand of whether or not to partner with City of St. Augustine. What the conversation I had with the gentleman earlier this morning, what we've relayed so far, I can say at first blush, there would not be any legal questions or issues with it in doing it in the manner they propose. As far as the economies of scale and cost, what I understand the city to be suggesting is that we're not paying any overhead, we're not paying any additional for their staff to do this. So the governmental involvement, there is no extra cost. And I don't know how much there would be in economies of scale. I think there's the potential for that because they are more efficient. But I can say, in all candor, you would at the minimum have the savings of not paying me to do it and follow up in accord with the memo that I prepared for all the commissioners today, because obviously if we go that route independently, somebody has to oversee this listing the contracts, and so there would at a minimum be a savings in that regard. And I would just, I think as far as selecting who would represent the Port District on the committee, perhaps that detail of the proposal would be best saved if the commission is interested in doing it until I've had a chance to review Commissioner Flowers' opinions and give my 2 cents on it. And perhaps at the next meeting, the specific representative to this body, if that's the way the commission wants to go, could then be designated. And I appreciate the time. That was all I wanted to add.
Mr. Meek, can I legally send that to all the commissioners? Can I send that to all the commissioners and to you at the same time, or?
I would greatly encourage you if you could just send me those opinions. I assure you that everything that you send me, I will include references to and make them an appendix to my review of whatever it is you have sent me that is then circulated to all commissioners. So they will, anything that is sent to me as far as legal authority on this issue, and I would just open it up if any other commissioner has something, again, if that's the way this body wishes to go. They can send me any authorities as well, and I will put all of it together in one legal memo, so the commission at least has something they can say, we've looked at it, we have an legal opinion we're relying on, and at that point, no individual commissioner would be in the position of saying, I came up with my own legal opinion and I don't have anything to back me up. You would at least be able to say, we ran it by council and here's what council said.
All right, let me see if I can simplify a little bit of this. What you're proposing is that you would take on the responsibility of when a marker is down and you're made aware of it, based on the criteria that we decide, you will implement getting the stuff done, and you're not adding any big to the deal. Okay. It's going to, anything we put out is going to be done by a local contractor. I can't see a marine contractor based in Jacksonville or Palm Coast or anywhere is going to sign up for any of this kind of stuff and be competitive. Because if he's in Jacksonville, it might take him 2 days to get a barge here. So there's 2 or 3 marine contractors, maybe 4 in this area, who come up with a criteria that, you know, what we want them to do and give us a price. And once that's set up, whenever there's a piling goes down, Josh lets you know, or whoever lets you know, you implement the stuff based on what we all agreed upon.
And could we not just keep replacing easily knocked down pilings, but upgrading them?
Well,
when they go down?
yeah, the thing about pilings is, you know, you can make stuff pretty stiff, like they do the big dolphins and stuff, with the barges and stuff tie up to, but, you know, a single pile, whether it's concrete, fiberglass, wood, a lot of the ability to knock that thing down is how long that pile is. Because you're putting a tremendous amount of leverage on the top of the pile, and it might be 30 feet where it's banged into the sand.
That's why you can't have jetted in piles, they have to be pile driven, right?
Oh yeah, you gotta drive them,
And none of our, they haven't been doing that, we've been paying for it, but they haven't been pile driving.
That'll be the criteria.
Yeah, so one of the criteria is, and there's, you know, maybe 3 marine contractors in town that have a barge and crane and the ability to do that, but I mean, I don't see this as being a complicated issue.
And again, this is just an option for you guys. If you want to do it, fine. It's less work for us if you decide not to do it. So whatever y'all decide.
Well, this isn't actually properly noticed for a motion.
Right, we
It's
can't
just
vote
a
on it today.
presentation.
Mhm.
So I suggest maybe we put this on the agenda for consideration at the next meeting.
Absolutely.
Whether or not to enter into a continuing service contract for the city to issue work orders to
Yeah,
take
at the
care
very
of
least,
this.
yeah, we should at least discuss what the criteria is and what we want.
Right, and I would recommend you all do have your discussion and you come with your list, and maybe Commissioner Brown, Chairman Brown is your designee as the executive of this board. And he'll come with the city and we'll sit down before you even issue it and go over it and make sure it's exactly the way you guys want it.
Sounds good to me. Appreciate your willingness to do it.
Great, yeah, thank you, Tim, in particular. Yeah, so we will discuss that and maybe vote on that at next month's meeting then. Good, other government reps?
Good afternoon, Commissioners. Nathan Otter, St. Johns County Natural Resources Superintendent. Got a few updates for you all on some park projects that we have going on right now. First one is Salem Phase 1 is complete and open. That's a beachfront park, just north of the Volano area between Surfside Park and North Beach. Phase 1 is 22 parking spaces and a crosswalk across the road with a beach walkover. So that is completed. Phase 2 is scheduled to start sometime hopefully next year. Additionally, the Butler East project is currently underway. I know I briefed you guys on that last meeting. Butler East Park.
Okay, that's completed, yeah.
Not completed, that is completed, that is underway. So it's expected to be a 5-week turnaround, so we're in roughly 2 weeks of that, so we still have about 3 more weeks. That's phase 1 of that project as well. That's regrading of that parking lot with updated adding parking as well in there, an updated beach walkover as well. Phase 2 with that project will be updated restrooms, changing areas, the ADA compliant sidewalks throughout the whole thing. So it will be a nice amenity once completed as well. Third one is the renourishment project in Volano for the sand placement. All the heavy equipment is officially off the beach now, so currently we are just waiting on the plantings. So for the vegetation of the dunes, it's expected to happen around the 3rd week of March. And then after that, that project will be completed. Fourth one I have for you all is that at the St. Johns County Board meeting this morning, the Board of County Commissioners approved staff to apply for fine grants. So we have 4 fine grants that our staff will be applying for. 2 of special interest for you will be the Doug Crane construction of the boat ramp there and Volano dredge, a maintenance dredge program.
When are they gonna start that Doug Crane? I'm sorry.
Tomorrow night, actually, our director has a meeting with the St. Augustine South Association, Homeowner Association improvement. It's like their HOA, but without the fees, right? So they have a meeting tomorrow night to go over the whole plans that Gulfstream has designed for us. And as long as we have complete public support, which we believe we will, we'll move forward with that one as well. So that project will be increased parking spaces there. Just a floating dock on the south side of that ramp.
That's gonna be really nice to have that floating dock.
Yes, ma'am. So it's just kind of the opportunity to increase the efficiency of that as well. Right now, it's kind of, you can park wherever you want, and if one boat unfortunately parks the wrong way, it can throw off the whole traffic pattern. So it'll be efficient parking with arrows designated in and out, things of that nature. That's all I have for you all today. If you have any questions, please let me know.
Nathan, I have a question from a resident in Seagrove. As you may know, there's a small boat ramp that's available to the public in Seagrove. The concern was that apparently Marsh Creek is looking at fixing its golf bridge that goes over the creek. And they, several residents within Seagrove are concerned that the new construction is going to impede access to the intercoastal. I didn't know how to respond. Do you know anything about that? Marsh Creek is within the county's jurisdiction. Seagrove is within the city of St. Augustine Beach.
This is a private boat ramp within there?
It is private, but it's completely open to the public.
Okay. I can follow up on that one for you, absolutely.
Okay.
So, proposed.
The concern is we would, obviously our duty is to make sure we increase access to the waterways, so we wouldn't want to be permitting any sort of construction activity that would impede access.
Where did you say that was, Marsh Landing?
No, Marsh Creek has a golf course and they have a bridge that goes over a creek that has direct access to the intercoastal.
So it's a Marsh Creek, it's in the Marsh Creek Golf Course?
Yeah.
Yeah, let me see if I can follow up or get an answer on that. Any other questions? Thank you. Any other government representatives? Nothing, great, all right, Secretary Treasurer's report.
Okay. I have to use yours. I don't have one. I'm coming your way. Okay, before I begin, I just want to ask, make sure everybody signed in on the sign-in sheet. I have to make sure that's first order of business. Okay. City police overtime, of the 8,000 committed, we spent 150. St. Johns County Sheriff's Department overtime, of the 25,000 budgeted, we've spent 5387. The derelict boats, we just spent 4,305 of the 25,000. That was budgeted. We did give St. Johns County, I just gave Josh the check today for the Diamondback boat, 34,340. In the Florida State Board of Administration A, we have $23,148 in the operating account. We have $258,622, and in the money market account, we have $2,484,905. So it's probably, yeah, $2,485,000. Of the taxes budgeted, we budgeted $583,400, and we received $471,129. The balance of the expected tax income from the revenue is $112,271. We should be getting that. We get that in drips and drabs all through the rest of the year. The other thing I wanted, well, I don't know if you want to bring it up now, Matt, was regarding the creating the records online. And how you want to do that, because I have some information.
Sure.
Unless you want to wait and bring it up later.
No, that's fine. You were coming back with information. This is information from the Secretary Treasurer, so we might as well just discuss it now.
Okay, so if we're going to digitize and we're going to go back, we have a couple of different options. We can go back 3 years and digitize those and then make it rolling. So that would, and we have to buy our own for the court. I'd have to get my own scanner and scan it and get a server. So I would need a server and a scanner for us to do that. The other thing is, if we just do you want to keep it and keep the backup of all those prior years, or just roll it? You know, like, okay, those 3 years are up, now we're starting, you know, it goes every 3 years goes back, you know, kind of thing. Now, Avid Design is the web host, and they would do it like the Dropbox kind of thing, where and their fee would go up $25 a month. Our fee, however, would be different. Our fee would go up depending on what you want. Our fee will go up, and I'll have to come back with that as far as what it would be charged, since I'm not in charge of
But once
that.
those are all online, then it would eliminate most of the records requests, right? People will be able to
Well,
see-
it depends on the records. Now, if you want, like, I would not advise putting our bank accounts on
Just like
there.
every project, the basic
Yes,
data.
you know,
receipts.
grant proposals,
Right. Grant proposals.
things that we get from the government, whether that, you know, when they want funds for, like the agreement for the Diamondback boat.
It'd be nice for each project to have the same basic ingredients, like the grant proposal.
Right,
The
right,
stuff,
right,
the middle
but-
stuff, and then the receipts.
Right, well, that's, okay, so, now do you want every check with every copy of the check, with every invoice also on there? So this is where it's gonna come costly, you know, when we start throwing all that into the server. Now, we could do a port server, and what we'll do is, like, we'll put a year's worth on the Dropbox, so anybody can pull it up on the website. because we'll put it in a Dropbox and then we'll put it on the website for 1 year's worth of records. We'll do some kind of folders with, these are all the projects and what we did and what was approved. The minutes are already on there, the agendas are already on there. I would suggest we don't put the general ledger, that's not necessary, nor is, like I said, the reconciliation of the bank accounts and all that, you get all that. But unless somebody specifically requests that, that's not a big deal.
Right, and it's easy for you to send those out anyway.
The bank,
banking
yeah,
information.
but I don't put those online or keep them in a PDF, because by the auditors, I have the paper copies.
I see.
So everything is in the court office, you know, by year, you know, all the bank recs along with all the bank statements. It's not hard to go down there to get it if somebody requests it, but if they're requesting a couple of years worth, yeah, then there's gonna be, they'll have a major cost, because I'm not, you know. But your cost will depend, according to the office, will depend on what it is you want me to put on there and how much. We have to get the server. The first thing we're gonna have to do is get the server and get a scanner. I mean, we have the copy machine at the office, but I need a scanner, because you need, for the internet, I have to have the scanner. So that's gonna be, you know, something we're gonna have to get, and, you know, and unfortunately, I'm in the middle of tax season, so I'm like sitting here going, okay, what do I do first?
But Elise, that's if we were to digitize the last 3 years, right? And
We would still need to, we would still want to put, because if that's going to be depending on what you want. So if I digitize the last year, and we only put the last year on, say, the website, but I would keep it on the server and then move forward to the next year, but we would still have that year, I would have to keep on the server.
What Chris
So it
had
would be
mentioned
gone.
at the last meeting was just starting from the present and.
Well, my thought was, though, because the fiscal year started October 1st, to at least have your fiscal year.
Yeah, sure.
You know, put from October 1st, and at least that's your fiscal year. This is the court's fiscal year. So I don't want to just have like February. I want to, you know.
No, I think so.
Yeah, just.
You want to go for the calendar, I mean,
Fiscal year. Start with October 1st, say. Those records, I mean, I have all those records in my office right now, because we haven't done we're not due for an audit until, the year's not up until September 30th. So I keep those records in my office before I bring them down to the court. So, that's why I'm thinking the fiscal year, do that. That will be a big project to do, probably April 16th. And then go ahead, and like I said, how do you want it roll, like when he says rolling, how many years do you want to keep on the website? And then, because that, I don't know how much room we have, and I don't know how, you know, I have to talk to Jennifer and Tom Reed over there, so that's not a big deal. She said it would be like, you know, once I get it in, because she has access, she will have access to the Dropbox when I put it in the Dropbox, but I have to have it in the server. So that's that, and then moving forward, and then, so then I could still keep it all on the server, even if it's not on the website.
Right.
And then if somebody requests something, I'll have it on the server and I can
It
get
goes
it.
out digital.
Yeah.
So we're still digitized.
I'm still
It's just not
digitizing,
in
it's
public.
just,
Right,
it's
right.
just if somebody's requesting.
Right, makes your
records.
job a lot easier, even if it's not available. to them.
Right. It's available to them, I just, you know. if
They
you-
just have to go through you.
Yeah, we just have to go through, yeah.
So this is also not a properly noticed agenda item, so I don't think we can vote on this today. Would it be
No.
possible then to reduce this to writing between now and next month, so we have you know, kind of a menu of options?
Yeah,
in
yeah.
terms of
I'll
cost?
have, what I'm gonna have is then I'll have, Avid Design make up a proposal, and then we'll do our proposal for
Right.
ours, what it would cost.
Okay.
Okay?
If you have any other questions? No, great, all right, thank you, Elise. Next item is approval of minutes from the January 19th, 2021 meeting. Does anybody have any additions, subtractions, edits?
I move approval of minutes.
All right, there's a motion. Do I have a second?
Aye, I'm a second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye, approved, great. Engineering report? Jim have to leave, he did, yes. Guess I'm bad news, unfortunately. Well, that brings us to old business, where C is now A, so we are on Summer Haven, motion to file a claim against contractor.
This is just a quick follow-up and a recap for Commissioner West, and also for the rest of the commission, because it seems like this is falling to the side. So I'll just read a very brief, as fast as I can, recap, bring us up to date. Summer Haven project review. There was a contract signed with Taylor Engineering of $376,000 plus additional amendments when the hurricane came through. There was no bid on the contract. We just gave it to them, and there was no vetting. Both of those things are not proper. This was a state contract in which the district had agreed to act as a sponsor and protect the money. The engineer appointed to the project was not qualified. The project was finishing up in March of 2019, and the engineer kept referring to the project as troublesome and, in his own words, a fiasco. The Friends of Summer Haven called each commissioner out to the project to see that it had not been completed to specifications, and that they were very disappointed. Our engineer advised the board that equipment would be brought back to the site to do additional dredging. There was even a specific sandbar just north of the Summer Haven Bridge, right in front of someone's dock, that was very specifically pointed out to be repaired. That was in an area that was supposed to be 3.5 feet deep, and it was ankle deep, sandbar deep. Engineer Trundike, is it Trundike? Am I saying that correctly?
Trudnick. No, you're talking about the engineer or the
The
contractor?
engineer is Trundike?
Mike Trudnick.
I'm so, Trudnick.
Trudnick.
I said, the engineer advised the board that, again, equipment would be brought back out, and he specifically said that all these high spots were going to be hit. Now, when the equipment was brought out, when the equipment showed up, all they did was dig a hole in a huge sandbar outside of the water at the end of the project, a very deep hole, deeper than we were ever supposed to dredge. They transported this sand over the just freshly built sand dune berm, which is a sign that said, "Do not get on here," with dump trucks. They took that over that berm and placed it around an individual's private home sitting at the edge of the tidewater. That was what the equipment was that showed up. That's the job they did. They did not do any high spots, and the dredge was never brought back. A constituent came in and called me and offered video and photographic evidence of every stage of the project. I went out and made photographic evidence myself of the channel at low tide and presented that to the board. We still have that if anybody would like to see it again. What should have been a channel 1.5 feet deep by 100 feet wide was no such thing. Now that's south of the bridge. North of the Summer Haven Bridge, it was supposed to be 3.5 feet deep by 100 feet wide. The channel then and now would be considered unnavigable except at high tide. The feathering of sandbars left behind instead of a deep channel are literally sand catchers. The line of dredging was, as indicated, was supposed to extend to the edge of every dock along the east side of the river, enabling those docks to be able to use the deep water. This did not happen, and those homeowners were expected to come up with more money to dredge that area of the project that was supposed to be paid for. Now, after all that happened, everybody's disappointed, and here comes Mr. Turnbull, came back for his last check of $87,000. It was issued to him without a vote from the commission. I protested greatly, but Mr. Bedsole advised that it was okay because the check had been approved a year earlier under a different commission. There was no approval on record of that check. The check was cut at the request of the engineer and approved by the attorney, not the commission. And just a word here, that approving money for a project is not the same thing as approving money to go out the door as a payment. That's what you do when you're happy with the project. Just a few other items and I'll be done. The as-built survey for this project was completed by the subcontractor's employees, so they inspected themselves. FEMA sent a letter to this board because they had given us $97,000 in funds to replace some of the work that had to be redone because of the hurricane. FEMA issued us FEMA sent us a letter to advise us that we must return the $97 in funds issued to pay for this additional work. The reason they said was, A, Taylor Engineering had not performed the required inspections. And that's very clear in 217. You're going to use state money, you have to inspect it regularly throughout the project. That was not done. Turnbull had not purchased the required insurance to cover hurricanes. Apparently, if you're going to do dredging in Florida, the state says you buy some insurance, so if something happens in the middle of the project, you're not coming back to state, to the taxpayers for the money. Turnbull did not buy the insurance. So FEMA stated that the contractor was responsible for that money, and we had to send $97,000 back. The court then voted to give $97,000 unanimously to the Summer Haven account to replace that. Now, just so y'all know, that is 1/5 of our yearly tax receipts that we had to put into the Summer Haven account so that Mr. Turnbull and Taylor Engineering could keep their money. On July the 8th of 2019, the district decided to hold a special meeting. We were here, and everyone was here to investigate the Summer Haven project, which we did. Photographic evidence of the dredging failure was presented, and a lot of questions were asked. It was not until the next meeting, it was either August or September, I'm not certain which, we have to find in the audio. But I did present a motion, and the motion, as I recall it, was to file a claim against the contractor to reimburse taxpayers.
It was August 20th, just
August,
if anybody wants
okay.
to go back and.
August 20th, okay. I
August
knew it was-
20th, 2019.
Okay, not September, okay. To file a claim. All 5 commissioners voted to move ahead on that. And for the next year, I asked Attorney Bedslow for an update, but nothing was ever done. Nothing was moved ahead. Mr. Bedslow eventually resigned and stated in his last meeting that one of the reasons he was resigning was that he was not the right attorney to handle Summer Haven. So I assumed that's why he was leaving. That was some of my confusion when we hired Mr. Meek. I thought we had to have an attorney on the board that could handle this stuff. Anyways, Attorney Bedslow failed to verify that all insurance policies and required bonds were issued prior to project commencement, and he may have some liability to the taxpayers as well. Including, he did not make sure that proper bidding on the engineering contract was done. This all came up for discussion when we were vetting for the new port attorney. And so I don't know why people seem to be acting like, we just brushed this to the side. We took a vote and we were supposed to move forward with a claim. Everyone was aware that we were waiting to file this claim, and many of my constituents, hundreds of my constituents, have been waiting to see this done. One last thing. If we can get some of this money back, this is Summer Haven money. Now, the county has moved forward to do a huge project down there. The chances of it doing every last thing is slim. They're going to need sand fencing, they're going to need plantings, etc., things to do to protect what's about to be done at great cost. So that's one reason I really think we should pursue this claim, not just punitively for doing bad work and failing us on the project, but the money would be reinvested into protecting our finishing off of the summer project. And that could be going into a CAP program where they actually bring back and help repopulate fish and stuff like that. But to watch the money walk away, and we had, 1/5 of our budget was taken from our taxpayers that are looking just to get a kayak into the water. And we gave that away so that Turnbull could have it. And that's all. So I would sure like to hope that we would continue to pursue filing the claim.
In my recollection, we did pursue filing a claim. Mr. Bedslow contacted a number of attorneys, and none would take the case because none thought that they could.
I did not hear that, and could you tell me where? Maybe it was a meeting where I missed, but.
He said that over the course of several meetings.
No, sir. No, sir. If he said that, I could have told you that John Wallace is ready right now to take it. And we've already vetted him. He got a vote from Chris, he got a vote from me.
So he's already familiar with all the facts
He
of the
is
case.
familiar with it, and he's contacted.
He's read Turnbull's insurance?
Yes, I sent it to him. Yes, I sent him the
Okay,
insurance.
Okay, all right.
Yeah. And as a matter of fact, Commissioner Jane West was interested in taking the case as well, to say that.
Is that right, Commissioner West? Can you speak to that?
that is not.
I'm sorry, you told me you said you would be interested, and I sent you the insurances, and you said you would be interested. I got the email.
No,
I got the
I'm
email.
interested
What
about
point?
information, Sandy. I wouldn't
I'm
take
sorry.
a case like
Okay,
that without
actually, he called me and said,
examination.
I can't take the case because I decided to run for the It doesn't matter, I have the emails. All I'm trying to say is,
If
Yeah,
you're
yeah,
going
No, let me
yeah,
finish.
yeah, yeah, let her finish. Go
If you're
ahead.
gonna accuse me of something, I need to set the record straight.
I feel that same way.
Excuse me. What I said I was interested in at one time was the attorney position, not taking on litigation for a.
why did you have me send you
project.
Taylor's
Because I
insurance
wanted
policy?
to educate myself on the
Oh,
issues.
because that's when I contacted you and we had a long discussion about it, but the point bringing that up was not to put you on the spot, was to say several attorneys are interested in taking that.
So far, you have the one attorney that's here that you said was interested in it.
Which
and said that
Mr.
she
Wallace
actually
has
was
called
not.
me, Mr. Wallace has contacted me and asked me what the court has decided to do. He called me and asked me if I would send him the insurance policies, which I did, and he's very interested in that case.
Go ahead and have him contact all the rest of us so
I
we can
will.
talk about it.
Excellent, so could we, as a thing, ask him to come talk to us?
You can send an email. I don't care.
He said, I want to move forward as a board though. Would the board like to talk to this attorney who's well qualified to take this case? Because I never heard, again, I was sick and I missed a couple of meetings last year, but I never heard every time I asked Mr. Turnbull, he said he was looking, Mr. Benslow. But without a doubt, matter of fact,
So,
Wallace is very familiar with the Friends of Summer Haven and went to school with those people and is very interested in taking the case.
listen, I have litigated numerous dredge and fill cases from Palm Beach up to challenging the Jacksport dredge and fill project, both at the administrative level, circuit court level, and federal level. Okay, these are not easy cases. If you have attorneys that have examined all of the insurance requirements, all the as-built site plans, everything out there from the coastal engineers, and they have formed an opinion that there is a viable cause of action, then they should come before this commission and advise us that that is their legal opinion so we can make a decision on whether or not to proceed with filing a claim. That's how this needs to proceed.
Well,
So if
yes,
you have
but-
attorneys that are interested and can come before this commission and render that legal opinion, then have them come.
I'd love to, it's just at the last meeting, y'all blew it off. So he was asking me, do I come or not? I said, well, we need to move forward as a board, not just me. So if the board would like to talk to an attorney who would like to take this case, he's already got the insurance policies. I don't think he has the as-built surveys, I have to double check if I sent him all that, but he seems very interested in the case.
So I make a motion to have a presentation from whatever interested attorneys may be out there to come and present their legal opinions to this board so we can make an educated decision on whether or not we want to move forward with the claim.
Yeah, I'll second that. All in favor?
Aye.
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 All right. motion carries.
So should I just send him an email and ask him, are we gonna set aside time on the agenda?
Yes, that's what I just
Yeah,
requested.
yeah, if he responds.
Okay, I'll have him respond to him.
So it's 4 in favor and 1 against for Tom. Great, are we done with that agenda item? Great, next order of business, Summer Haven Dune Restoration, Friends of Summer Haven.
Good afternoon, Commissioners. Terry Parker, 9181 Gene Johnson Road, St. Augustine. We, the Friends, have asked to be placed on the agenda today to discuss the condition of the dune structure at the north end of Summer Haven Beach. First, just to briefly give a little background. I think we're all aware that the dune was built with sand, which was removed from the Summer Haven River as part of the river restoration project. The dune called for a flat, level top, 20 feet wide, and then sloping both directions. It is almost 1.5 mile long, so it's quite extensive. The permit required vegetating the 20-foot wide strip on the top of the dune. Due to cost overruns by storm damage during construction, there was no money left to vegetate the dune. Because the dune vegetation was considered a critical aspect of the project, the Friends organized an effort to make this happen. The contractor finished shaping the dune late in 2017. In April of 2018, with our own funds, that be the Friends funds, we purchased 13,000 plants, hydrating gel, etc., at a cost of approximately $9,000. We then assembled and supervised a group of over 100 volunteers to accomplish the planting over 3 days. I'm pleased to report the dune is holding up very well, and the COs are healthy and doing their intended job of collecting sand. The height of the dune has increased along the entire length, in some areas over 2 feet, so it's doing very well. The vegetation plan for that phase called for 70% COs, 30% others, those being railroad pine, spartina, and Gaillardia. The COs probably had a 90% success rate. They're doing extremely well. Whereas the other plants, I would say less than 10%. I don't
Less than
know why.
10% failed.
Less than 10% success.
Oh, really?
Yes, yes. There are virtually none of the other plants there. So we lost approximately 30% of the plants, as time went on. In 2019, more funds became available for the project, and sand removal from the river resumed. This sand was placed on the west side of the dune and formed the eastern shoreline of the Summerhaven River. Again, the Friends, with the approval of this board, arranged for the purchase of 17,000 plants, all COs this time. And they were placed along the riverbank, the slope of the riverbank for stabilization. This was paid for with the newly acquired funds that were through this board. They were dedicated for the project. And those COs are doing extremely well too. Very few have been lost. Now, for the reason we're here today, as I mentioned a minute ago, the survival rate of the other plants was very low. We proposed the purchase of 4,400 COs, and with existing allocated funds for the restoration project, if the project is approved, if this board approves it, Friends are willing to arrange for the purchase, take delivery, hire the planting contractor, and oversee the planting. Or if Taylor Engineering is required to be involved, we're willing to assist in any way we can. We put together a firm cost from the grower, including taxes and delivery of the COs, and it's $2,597, $2,597. We do not have a firm cost from a planning contractor as yet, but based on past experience, we project no more than 65 cents per plant. And that's really probably on the high side, and that's a total of $2,860, $2,860 for a total project cost of $5,447. In addition to the initial planning, the Friends, again with our own funds, purchased and installed approved signage, which included applicable state statutes restricting public access and warning against picking COs. We propose purchasing and installing approximately 40 more signs over this half-mile area, which can be seen both from the beach and from the river to discourage foot traffic. Our estimate for this is $1,500. It is our hope that you would approve this request today. Much of this area is a designated bird nesting site, and nesting season is approaching. FWC will be roping off the site and thereby restricting access. But as of now, we still have time to get the project done. The total of the two requests is $6,957. I noticed today in the treasurer's report that there were no Summerhaven funds mentioned. And
Oh, no, it's just,
Yeah, look up in the committed funds, higher up in the report. There's still 87,080
Yeah.
committed from the 92, whatever we
Yeah, there's-
voted to commit last year. There's none in the account right now, but
okay.
the committed funds are still there.
Very good. Good news. So that's our request today. And we kind of feel like there's a time crunch here because of the bird nesting situation. And we're willing to work with Taylor. We're willing to take it on ourselves if the board so approves. Questions, comments?
I would think that sand burn permit included the protective fencing, no? Or this is all gonna be about,
This is strictly
just the
planning that
plantings?
we're,
Okay, sorry.
that we're addressing today. And really, this is replacing the plants that were lost.
Did the previous plantings have to go through Taylor? Oh, that was y'all's money though, right? Okay, so that's not
Well,
relevant.
the very first planting, Taylor and Turnbull was still under contract at the time, and they were responsible really for the vegetation. That was part of their contract. Of course, money had run out, so we took it upon ourselves to try to put it together.
Mm-hmm.
And with Turnbull's assistance, they provided some supervision, and the planting plan came through Taylor as dictated by the permit. So that's how the first one went together.
Right.
The second time around, the board paid for the plants. We arranged for planting and delivery and the planting contractor. Turnbull was out of the game at that point, and
Taylor was not involved with that.
Taylor's not involved with that.
So if you know if you know of a contractor, it sounds like you've already talked to a contractor that does these plantings.
Pardon me?
You've already talked to a contractor that does these plantings?
Yes,
So
yes.
is there a way that, our secretary could simply, arrange that, to have it done and pay him directly?
I'm sorry, I'm not understanding.
In other words, can our secretary just not call your contractor? In other words, I'm trying to figure out if Taylor doesn't need to be a part of this, it's just the plantings. Basically, we just need to hire the contractor to do it, is that correct?
That's our opinion.
Okay.
If y'all deem it necessary to have Taylor involved, we're willing to work with them or let them take
But if the
over
technician
entirely.
is willing to do it, there's no reason we can't just hire them as the board, if we approve it, of course. And Ms. Elise could simply write the check directly to them.
That's basically what happened the second time around.
And you guys did a lot of mangrove plantings, didn't you?
No.
Oh, you didn't do the mangroves?
No,
Is that
I'm not
what
sure
you
the
did?
mangroves are approved. I mean, we raised that question a long time back.
Right.
We thought that would be a good vegetation to stabilize the shoreline.
Right.
But that was never included in our planting scheme.
And you're coming back next month to talk about the sand fencing? Or was that Miss Linda?
That was Linda.
Okay.
The most recent I've heard on sand fencing is there's some dispute about what is going to be required in terms of altering the permit to allow for sand fencing, and because of the timing of the bird and turtle season, it doesn't seem like that's going
I see, it's
to
back.
work this year anyway.
That's right.
Well, there was some interesting new sand fencing stuff at that convention, and I'll just bring that next time, just some new materials and stuff that seem to be holding up better, and I'll bring a copy for everybody for the next
Well,
meeting.
that's a discussion we'd like to have at some date later, and we saw the proposal from Taylor regarding their administration design and so forth of that portion of the work, but I would suggest, rather than just jumping right in with that, we have an on-site meeting. That proposal was $9,000+ just for design and permit modification. That's a lot of money. I believe that would cost more than the fencing itself.
Right. Well, to clarify, this was just a back of envelope proposal that Jim Taylor put together. Elise, I forwarded that to you. Could you send that proposal, the sand fencing proposal from Taylor?
I did.
Did you forward it around to everybody else?
I'm pretty sure I did. I could do it again,
Well,
but,
I didn't see okay, I'll gotta check. Maybe
So-
it's in-
yeah, let me,
In
yeah.
his description, the $9,500, that's the absolute high end, and that would only cost that much if the permitting portion of that ended up being difficult. It could easily be $800.
That was enough
Well,
to
it could be
exceed
the phone call by
$9,000.
second.
Matt, I actually have it here.
Okay, great.
Here. Pass
Yeah, I
that
believe it
for
was
me.
enough to exceed that.
Right, so we should probably get some more clarity from him. He, like I said, he had to leave early today, but maybe we can talk about it at the next meeting.
And that would be something that could occur until probably after turtle nesting and,
When are y'all trying to get those plants in the ground with the heat? I would imagine the heat coming on is not gonna be any help.
we would like to do it here in the next few weeks, and that's about the time frame we're committed to because of the nesting season. FWC will be coming in there and roping off that area, and will not be allowed.
Could we make a motion?
Well, hey, Jane, did you have a question?
I do have a couple of questions. Who was the original permit issued to? The commission.
Mhm.
And we hired Taylor. Is that correct?
Mhm.
Okay. And then the access to the Summer Haven River, currently there's kind of a dirt parking lot, but there are signs where it kind of indicates that you aren't allowed to park there. Is there any sort of public access to the river?
Yes, the river borders the county park, Helen Schmidt Park. That would be on the on the west side of A1A. There's a county park there.
Where they park the dredges, too.
And it's widely used. yeah.
Okay, okay. So there, on the east side of A1A, is there any sort of public access to the river?
Not really. The public has been accessing the river from that side, right off of A1A in an area that was the staging area for the contractor during the original dredging project. It kind of, it was opened up at that time, if you will. It was supposed to be revegetated. And there are some PVC poles along there to keep people from actually driving down there. But it's being very widely used. It's kind of a newly discovered, nice little area there along the river's edge.
It's a kind of area like Main Street where you did just a little tiny bit to it, it could actually be an attractive small
Yeah,
boat ramp.
absolutely.
Because people using it probably is that a lot, yeah.
And people launch boats there at the park, the Helen Smith Park there. There are 2 launch sites actually in that park, sand ramps. But they're widely used.
How could we, since you're looking to get this in before the next meeting?
So we need a motion. Do we have a motion on the floor to commit, up to about $7,000 from our committed $87,000 in the Summer Haven commitment?
What was the plant that failed?
I'm sorry?
What was the plant that failed?
Spartina, right?
They were the railroad vines, the Spartina, and the Gaillardia.
And was that recommended
And
to
they
you
were,
guys?
yes, I don't know who dictated that. Those were, if it came from Taylor, and then it went to the state for approval, or the state said, this is what we need, and Taylor didn't pass that on to us. But that's how that came about. And it was disappointing, and maybe the plants were not suitable for those conditions.
I guess I'm just a little frustrated that we're having to pay for the overcost here due to apparently what seems like a budgeting error on Taylor's part. Usually it's the contractor that takes the hit for that on a project that becomes over budget, rather than coming back to the agency for additional funds to rectify their overspending. So.
I can address that. During the initial phase of construction, there were several storms. They put more sand back into the river, degraded the work that had already been done. The contractor continued working, and of course that cost extra. And-
That's why insurance is so important.
Yes.
I think you were the one that told me you're a contractor and can't even show up on the property until all the
The
goodies are on
insurance
the table.
requirements are met, that's correct. So that's how the funds were depleted before the vegetation phase could take place.
But, wasn't it that you're saying that you needed more funds because of the failure of the plants that were chosen? Is that part of the equation?
That's part of it. Another part of that too was we identified about 3 areas when dredging resumed in 2019, the dune had been planted. The vegetation was complete up there. When the dredging resumed in 2019, the contractor had to go over the dune with dredge pipes, heavy equipment, so forth. And to his credit, he did fairly well doing that. He just did it in about 3 places along that half-mile stretch. But dragging pipes and, dump trucks and that sort of thing, that also damaged the vegetation up there. And so that's part of this replacement that we're asking for. Those areas are easily definable because they're low. The plants have not done well there. They've not collected any sand, and they've become vulnerable.
I would just think that, an engineering company whose sole task is to design the landscaping aspect of the dune would be able to make the proper recommendations on what type of vegetation to use. I do think we should be looking to Taylor for reimbursement of the funds for the 30% failure of the vegetation portion of the project. But, you're stuck in the middle. I
can't speak to that. I don't know where the dictates came from. And I would think too that Taylor or whoever might go back to the grower and say, these plants were not suitable or not
That could be part of the
established enough to
plan.
be planted and take hold. I don't know. I can see some argument going there both ways.
That could be part of the claim. So if we could approve this today so you could move forward, we could look at possibly recuperating that. And one reason I say that is it may be difficult to do those types of dredging claims, but it's not at all hard to prove that inspections were not done, that bids were not done, and that insurance was not bought. It's not at all hard to prove that and to get some money back for this project. I would make a motion that we go ahead and approve up to $7,000 so that the contractor could get started right away.
I'll second that.
Second. All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed?
Okay.
All right. 4 in favor, 1 opposed.
Well, thank you on behalf of the Friends. And now that you've approved this, we'll get started coordinating with the lease regarding insurance requirements and put the contractors in direct touch with her.
But whatever invoice they send me, or whatever, it has to, I'm not just gonna write a check blindly without it being approved by the Friends.
Okay.
So the Friends are gonna have to look at that and make sure, because I
You guys
can't.
will be working directly with.
Yeah, I don't wanna just, I'm not writing a check, just writing a check, and
Sure.
the auditors aren't gonna like that
I
either.
understand.
So,
We'll try to provide all the documentation.
Yeah.
We get quotes now from the grower.
yeah.
Grower, and so we can handle it. Should be just 2 people involved, really. Or 3 possibly, the sign person, the sign maker, the grower, and the plant installing contractor. So we probably have 3 entities involved. Okay, thank you very much.
Right, on the new business, resolution regarding funds appropriated for boat ramps. Clay, you circulated that resolution. Were there any comments by any, did
I
you
saw
receive
the
any
resol-
comments back?
I'm sorry, I saw the resolution for, the money to go into savings? Was that on a different email, or that's the resolution that I saw?
The resolution is drafted. I attempted to track the will of the commissioners and looking at the recording of the commission meeting to make sure I had it as clear as possible. Essentially establishes the goal of keeping the reserve fund balance at $1,500,000. And as best I could word it, the second part of the be it resolved paragraph says anything beyond that and beyond what is required for the normal yearly operating expenses is essentially earmarked to be left for boat ramps, kayak ramps, whatever it may be. And within my abilities, that's as specific as I could make it while still leaving the flexibility without putting down precise dollar amounts and creating separate funds and separate savings accounts.
Yeah, I reviewed the resolution. I thought you did a really good job of tracking our intent. And I can see how you are walking a fine line with trying to give us a little wiggle room on the projects. I think, just recalling back to the last meeting, I think what we were all trying to be mindful of is not to alert every agency and entity out there that we've got these excess funds that, they could make requests for fancy airboats for. So I think the way that it is currently worded effectively captures that intent.
Yeah, I agree with that.
Thank you.
I agree.
So that leaves us something like around $800,000. Some idea.
It would essentially be a moving number, the way this is worded.
Just what's left over.
Because if you did boat ramps tomorrow, it's whatever the balance is tomorrow, but the way this is worded, if you don't get to boat ramps for 3 years, it's whatever would have accumulated during that 3 years.
Right, and some other emergency arises in the meantime. Our hands aren't tied. Tom, did you have
This flyer that I gave to everybody before the meeting, it is a request partly for some funding for this organization. And I'd like to ask Chris Benjamin, who works for the county, to come up and present this concept. And since we're like out of the old business, new business, we'll just look at it as something that can be on the agenda for the next meeting. Chris?
Just a point of order, we have this agenda item, the resolution that we need to approve before we move on.
Yeah, let's go ahead and finish this particular item, and then we can slot that in. That's fine.
So, I mean, we all agree that those funds, we're gonna try and focus on coordinating projects for access to the water, boat ramps, parking.
Yeah, and I've already had discussions with Doug over at Parks and Rec to let them know this was something we were working on, and if they could help facilitate the identification of areas that would make sense, because I do think that would probably be the best department to work with, since they manage all our current boat ramps. And he was pretty excited about that proposition. So the ball is rolling, and I think I'll go ahead and make a motion to approve of this resolution.
I'll second it.
Great, all in favor?
Aye.
All right, motion carries unanimously.
Chris?
Is there
agenda items before?
Oh, yeah, you know what, we'll go ahead and finish new business real quick, and we'll work you in. So we have one more item under new business, which is discussion regarding sending a request to the state of Florida representative to hold a Sunshine Law Educational Forum. Commissioner Flowers.
Yes, just a quickie on that, because there have been so many questions about the Sunshine Law, and I know Mr. Meek has walked into, our records aren't exactly great, as Mr. Benson said, they're a mess. And the state will send us for really almost just a charge of, the cost of them coming. They'll help send us any kind of help, especially with the Sunshine Law and getting our office records set up. They can even help up with the digitization if we ask them. But I think they could go a long way on helping us operate properly within the Sunshine Law. And they'll come out and give us a little class. And it would really help on some of the things I'd like to send to y'all, put in the packet ahead of time so that you can read it, saving us a whole month. Getting things ahead of time to delineate what can and cannot be done like that. So the help is there for us, and Mr. Mead could organize that, if y'all are interested.
Well, I mean, Mr. Meeks, are you qualified to give a education on Sunshine Law?
I'd be happy to outline anything the commission wants, yes.
I mean, if you're our attorney, why can't you give us the Sunshine?
I can do that. I refrain from acting and spending the commission's money without having a directive from the commission to do so. But yes, if that's a desire of the commission to have a formal presentation, I can put together a presentation on whatever you wish.
I think at this point, I'd really just like to hear a resolution of Commissioner Flowers' other Sunshine Law questions, including the state AG's opinion that she
We
wants.
can start with that.
Yeah, let's start with that, and then we can proceed from there.
Okay.
If I could, just for my own clarification, is that an indication of the will of the entire body to do what I believe was discussed earlier of send whatever it is, and I will review it and put together a formal opinion on it for the next commission meeting? I take it as all are in agreement.
Yeah.
Good, all right. Tom, you're okay.
Go ahead. My name is Christopher Benjamin. I'm an employee of St. Johns County. I've been before the board before requesting grants and have received grant money from you. This is a proposal that I'm sorry to say that we got to you at the last moment, but I have been out of my desk for the last 6 months at the Emergency Operations Center of the COVID-19 project, so I've just had to put this together. It's a very simple proposal. Beaches Go Green is a really up-and-coming environmental organization that has operations in Duval and St. Johns County. That if you read the proposal, you see that the funds we're requesting are only for the district territory in St. Johns County. And they can do things that we can't do right now. For instance, I'm prevented from going in school in person because of COVID-19 or in our protocols in the county, but they have digital programs that they have already started running. They also do on-hands beach cleanups. They've got one scheduled for February 20th that's coming up in St. Johns County. And it's a program that I highly recommend if you listen to. And of course, this is a 3-page document for your consideration. And Anne-Marie Moquin, who is the founder of this organization, is here in the audience if you'd like to ask her any specific questions about what you're reading there.
We used to allocate about $5,000 a year to Mr. Benjamin in a river cleanup effort. And this went on for I don't know how many years.
Because it was the intercultural cleanup we did. Unfortunately, our boat of 22 years has just been considered substandard as it's out of action. So, but we are still dedicated, and my department, solid waste department, is lending in-kind support to this proposal.
You guys just physically, you don't have a boat anymore, but you physically go along the marsh with the
We
pictures.
go everywhere where there's trash and marine environment, everywhere.
I got you.
Mr. Chairman, could we just put this for consideration at the next meeting on the agenda?
Absolutely. Elise, can you add that to the agenda for next meeting?
Okay, and this is going to be under new business,
Under new business, yes.
And this-
Beaches Go Green grant.
the Go Green grant.
Good, that brings us to second public comment period. Any public comment? Please approach.
So I wanted to introduce myself.
Yeah, go ahead.
I'm Anne Marie Moquin. I'm the founder of Beaches Go Green. Although I'm located in Atlantic Beach, it was quite a hike up here. We do a lot of work in St. Johns County, and I know that you have that proposal in front of you, but I just wanted you to have a chance to see the person behind the organization and tell you a few things. We're a 501c3. We are run all by volunteers. One of my counterparts here in St. Augustine, she lives in the Island Hammock. She lives at 344 Red Wing Lane, that's still in Jackson. And her husband, she and her husband are a business owner here. They have Jackson Law. And she does a lot of work. We've already done a few things down here in St. Augustine Beach. We've implemented over 60 cigarette butt collection canisters through a grant from Keep America Beautiful. And along with Dylan, we collect those cigarette butts and we mail them into TerraCycle to be recycled into park benches and other things. And we capture them out of the marine environment. You guys probably know that cigarette butts are the #1 most littered item on the planet. And as the cigarette butt is breaking down, it leaches chemicals like arsenic and heavy metals and nicotine into the water and the soil and does kill marine life. So it's a super important program. We have high school clubs, and we currently have Ponte Vedra High School, which is in St. Johns County, and East High School in St. Johns County. We have over 100 active members at each club. And the awesome part about these clubs is that we don't just work with the teenagers, but the teenagers work with partnered elementary and middle schools. So they're replicating our forces in education. And so because of COVID, they're not able to go in and do in-person presentations at the partnered schools. So we have mini educational environmental videos that they're creating, and they are awesome. They're so creative. They're really cool. They're our next environmental warriors that we're getting excited, and they're seeing the impact they're making. So that's super cool. We're hoping to launch at St. Augustine High School in the fall of 21. Trying to make sure I don't forget anything. When I heard someone talk about the sea oats, in Atlantic, Neptune, and Jax Beach, they often have student volunteers planting sea oats. And that's something that if we got the St. Augustine students involved, that would be an effort that we could lead and help with that when they need to be replanted, and that's a volunteer effort. So that was just a thought that I had. We have done Adopt a Road. We did a mile in Michler Road, and our sign should be going up for our Beaches Go Green student clubs. And again, like Mr. Benjamin said, we have a huge cleanup coming up on the 20th. We're working with News for Jax, and so it's getting a ton of promotion. This time it's 3 locations. We're doing Atlantic Beach, Jax Beach, and then Michler Beach Access. So we've previously done Guana Beach Access cleanups, and we work often with Matanzas River Keeper, the litter getter boat, and they'll come up sometimes to Duval, and sometimes we'll launch in St. John's, but I try to get the teenagers out there, I try to get adults out there, and people are amazed at how much litter is just beyond the high tide line in the marine environment. So it's an educational, and we try to make it fun. I lived in the Guana area in South Ponte Vedra for almost 13 years, so I'm super attached to that estuary type area, and that's kind of what motivated me to start Beaches Go Green. So I watched a documentary called The Plastic Ocean. If you have not seen it, I highly recommend it. And it really drove me crazy how our fast-paced, convenience-based lifestyle has created so many problems that we didn't anticipate, particularly plastic pollution in the marine environment, and how so many animals are suffering as a result of our, I guess, I think it's that we're a little bit oblivious and a little bit selfish. You know, we're just constantly whatever makes my life easier and what makes me be able to go faster and multitask more. So we teach everybody that we speak to and our kids about replacing single-use items with reusable whenever possible. And then it's hard to avoid plastic altogether, but just single-use items in particular, just to protect the marine environment. So
don't forget the amphitheater part.
Oh, yes, we have worked with we're working with the St. Augustine Amphitheater, and maybe you could speak to that a little better, because you've been really involved, Sherman.
So we have a couple of
and I'm happy
seconds
to
left,
answer.
I'm just gonna blurt it out.
You get 5 minutes.
Oh, okay. Well, I'll keep it shorter than that. I'm Dylan, the volunteer with Beaches Go Green that Anne Marie mentioned. I live here locally. And so we did partner with the amphitheater and the Friends of the St. Augustine Amphitheater. Last year, we were supposed to launch, and obviously COVID hit, so we moved everything to this year. We just followed up this week. I think the plan is still to move forward, and that's going to be called Movies That Matter. And our plan was for a 4-part series open to the public out on their front porch area that we got a grant from them. They donated it all. We did all of the planning, and then obviously fell apart there, but we have it all still in place, and we're hoping to still do that here this year in 2021 with the amphitheater. So just to help with the whole presence in St. Johns County, it's not just up there, but we really are trying to bring that back down here as well.
Dylan, it's great to see you both. By the way, I'm very familiar with your organization and the two of you, and you've done some excellent work. And I'm excited about your educational opportunities and would encourage you to try and get into the more diverse communities within St. Augustine. I do think there needs to be a heavy lift there in terms of education. So thank you for all the great work that you do. We look forward to reviewing your proposal next week. Thank you all.
Thank you. Any other public comment? Hearing nothing. Comments from Commissioners. Tom?
No.
Chris?
No, I have nothing.
Jane?
No.
Sandy?
I just wanted to pass out this copy of open permits for building small boat landings, since we're gonna get into that business, just so everybody has a copy. And, there's an extra one for, Miss Elise for the references. That doesn't expire in March 2022, it'd just be somebody who could have.
This is the Corps of Engineers permit?
Yes, it's an open permit for nationwide, so that it gives us, just saves a lot for people, communities like ours looking to put boat ramps in, and if there's a certain size, you just.
So give it to
go right
Tom.
in, you don't have to apply for the permit.
Thank you.
Sandy attended that conference. I decided not to
wanna
because
say?
I thought it was overkill for both of us to go, and I thought it was a really high price for a virtual conference. Were you able to go?
Yes, ma'am, and I was highly impressed. I was just gonna not say anything instead of saying something bad.
Oh.
But I don't think that we should spend any money on that again.
Okay.
And I have to apologize to the taxpayers. I did get a few.
Wow, that's really bad.
Wow.
I don't want to continue because it would not be good.
All right, well, there you go. I have just one comment. I got in touch with some folks at the Guantanamo Research Reserve earlier this month. I know we had previously had a liaison to that organization. I believe Chairman Benjamin was the liaison for many years, but that has obviously lapsed. They sent some information that I'll forward along to Elise, but they asked, among other things, that we designate a liaison to start attending their management group meetings that they hold every month. So I will forward that information along, and we can maybe discuss. In fact, maybe we'll put that on the agenda for next month, designating a member of this group to be a liaison to the GTRR. I know they also have a couple of projects in the pipeline that they may want to ask us to support, some environmental monitoring
Designating
projects
liaison. Who are we designating
that they're working
liaison?
on, but they can come and tell us about that.
Oh, GTR, yeah.
I've attended a couple of their working group meetings in the past too.
Okay, so are you volunteering yourself then?
The legislative session starts March 2nd, and my capacity is going to be diminished.
All right, noted. Well, yeah, we can talk about that next meeting, but at least I'll forward that information along to you.
So we're going to designate a liaison for the what am I saying?
GTR. There you go.
GTR. Too many letters.
Business. Let's go ahead. The next meeting will be March the 16th, I believe. Is that right?
Yes.
March 16th. Great. We go to business. Adjourn.
So what?